People sharing their secrets with INFJs. Now, that's a commonly believed fact about how people interact with INFJs, that they spill their secrets to INFJs on a frequent basis. And so that, in some sense, INFJs become informal therapists for their friends or, their close acquaintances. And when I say informal therapist, I do mean informal therapists. They do not really act as substitutes for real therapists, but sometimes it's possible to imagine that certain friends will not end up going to see a therapist because they have found in an INFJ acquaintance not an exact substitute, but an answer to their needs. In fact, this is mistaken and misleading and misguided because, like I said, if you need therapy, you need therapy, okay? Whatever an INFJ friend is going to bring you is not going to be the equivalent of therapy. But it nevertheless can bring a certain dimension of solace, dimension of reassurance, and a dimension of being and feeling understood. So you can already guess by my words, by these introductory words, that I'm not going to militate against this notion that INFJs are informal counselors of their friends, or can often be in situations like these, because it does seem to be a fact. Like I've interacted with many INFJs across my lifetime, and it seems to be a theme that runs across many different kinds of INFJs. Of course, it's not going to concern like every single INFJ on the planet, but it's a commonly recurring observation that INFJs make about themselves and their interactions with other people. So it's interesting to try and understand why that is the case. Why do INFJs attract other people in that way? There's some pretty obvious facts that we can share to begin with, because they belong in the more sort of obvious category, right? INFJs tend to be private. Now, what people understand on that basis is that if you share a secret with them, they're not likely to spread it. They're not likely to betray your confidence. At least that's how people tend to feel, because INFJs have this kind of serious exterior, and they also have this kind of private way of being, right? This is common to all INFJs. Might be a bit less common among INFJs who are under intense stress, maybe if the INFJ is Enneagram 2, for example. But in the vast majority of cases, even among Enneagram 2s, the INFJ will tend to be private. That's something that distinguishes, most INFJs from other types. Of course, INFJs are not the only private type. INTJs are private too, but again, privacy, very, very common in INFJs. And again, by sort of some kind of mirror effect, people would tend to assume that their secrets won't be betrayed because the INFJ is a private person and they're serious. So they're going to listen to you seriously. Now, of course, there's other factors that, that play a role here. And I think there's two that I want to emphasize. One that I want to emphasize, and by the way, very quickly, if my voice is a bit hoarse because I'm a little sick, I got a cold on Christmas Eve, so that's life, things are worse. It could have been the flu. So, so of course, people tend to project, or rather, INFJs tend to project reflectiveness, the tendency that they have of taking things seriously. So they don't just come across serious, but they think serious as well. And so usually when someone shares their secrets with you, they do want to get some sort of feedback. They want to get some sort of reflection on the basis of which maybe some advice can be given, or at least the kind of active listening provided by the other party is deep enough that the person doesn't feel like they shared their secret for nothing. Okay, they're not easily distracted. INFJ is not easily distracted. That's another important aspect, because people tend to really, really resent others who have decided to entrust with a secret. And while they're just telling the person their secret, they notice that the recipient of the secret is like losing focus. It's like, come on, I'm bearing my soul here. Please be focused. Now, the reason why INFJs are focused, project being focused, and are really focused, it's not just an image, it's not just a facade, It's in the fact that INFJs have holistic minds. The minds are circles, like INTJ minds. So they're not minds that are easily going to be led astray into territory that is mentally irrelevant to the subject matter at hand. That's not the only quality of holism in Mindscape, of mental holism, but one of its qualities is that it always tends to kind of turn back on itself, so you don't easily lose focus. People who tell secrets will appreciate that very much. And again, they will tend to intuit that in the INFJ. They'll observe them and they see that the INFJ has that behavior, they project that, so that makes them even more trustworthy. And the final, and really not, like last but not least, feature that INFJs often possess, that I think is important and instrumental in motivating other people to trust them, is that INFJs, in some kind of gut sense, in some kind of not always verbalized sense, when they are observed by their friends, when they're observed by their close acquaintances, other people, they do give the impression, although they are private and don't tend to pontificate at all about this, not even a little bit, INFJs are dealing with stuff. INFJs are not people who come across like they're super chill and life is easy. Sometimes INFJs wish they were more like that because they wish it could be a bit more cool. INFJs don't come across as cool. They come across as kind of low-key, sort of privately preoccupied, in spite of their politeness, in spite of the fact that they usually know what to do in an interpersonal relationship. They're dealing with stuff. Now, my conviction is that the reason why they project this is that this impression they give that they're like in the background dealing with stuff at every moment of the day is that they're dealing with severance. They're dealing with the difficulty of reconciling the inner world and external reality. And that produces a tension that comes across in the state of being preoccupied. The thing is, if you combine seriousness, focus, privacy, and being someone that seems to be familiar with what it means to be dealing with mental things, well, that's a lot of qualities combined to give the other person, the person feeling the need to share a secret, to alleviate some suffering they're going through for whatever other reason, for solace or a feeling of understanding. The combination of I've been there myself, I'm reliable, I'm going to be listening, I'm focused, and I won't betray your confidence because I'm a private person. I'll be expecting the same of you, by the way. Well, that's a quite potent cocktail to motivate people to share with INFJs. Let me know in the comments what you thought about these different traits, and if you agree or if you think there are other traits I could have mentioned. Give me a like if you enjoyed this vid, guys. Happy Christmas, by the way, and don't forget that maybe as Christmas gifts you could get yourself my book, The Ecstatic Soul, which is a new look at the INFJ personality. It's the deepest investigation of the mind of INFJs, where I talk about the topics I've covered in this video and others in more depth. Lots of reviews of this book. The links are below if you want to get it. Or its sequel, indeed, The Infinite Soul. At first you're ecstatic, and then you're infinite. This is my latest one. It's called INFJ Life in the Modern World, the subtitle that is. How INFJs can reach happiness, purpose, value, and rich life without sacrificing their authenticity in a world, a contemporary world that we often see as hostile. This is the book to get. And by the way, if you have the book, loved it, but haven't reviewed it on Amazon, please consider reviewing it. It helps massively with the referencing. Okay, the two books are available down below. And as usual, don't forget that my Patreon page, which is linked below, is the lifeblood of my channel. I depend on your kind donations. The link is below if you would like to become a member, a Jungian existentialist. Join our small but growing community there. You get access to me. You can suggest content for me to cover, and you get priority for that in my YouTube videos. You get access to other people in the community, and they're like super interesting, insightful, smart people. And you get access to bonus content every 2 weeks, in-depth videos covering topics from my books and mainstream YouTube. Consider it, guys, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.